From a teenager's standpoint, you create your own style when you thrift.
With ample options of clothing, accessories, music records, and even furniture from nearly every decade, you are bound to do some self-discovery for a much smaller price.
The average wage of a teenage babysitter is around $10 per hour. This I know from spending many grueling hours with bratty kids. 5 hours with the demon spawn and 50 hours later, the leech that is the mall sucks your pockets dry in half an hour with that one overpriced and overrated shirt from that overpriced and overrated brand, leaving you too broke to hit up the food court. Unfortunately, this teenage budgeting problem isn't going away. Your favorite big clothing companies are guilty of spending less and less on production, but charging shoppers more and more. Prices are so astronomical that a fun game at the mall for me and my friends is walking into a store and trying to guess the prices of designer clothing. Additionally, the increasing pressure of school, athletics, and extracurricular activities leave students with little time to compensate for their budgets. But first world problems, right? Having a few extra dollars in your wallet may not be a life or death situation, but we offer a solution that will not only save you money, but salvage your friendships.
After binging hours of TV, scrolling mindlessly through social media for the millionth time, and periodic napping, I was forced to acknowledge how exceptionally bored I was. I could go to the mall, go out to eat, or see a movie, but for no small price. Not only are these mainstream activities exhausting your bank account, but they're so basic. We've done these things a million times with no new yield. We needed something new and revolutionary to do with our friends when we can't escape the boredom. Our solution is thrifting. No, it doesn't matter what's playing in the theaters, thrifting will always be more interesting than plopping yourself down in front of a screen for 2 hours. You got the opportunity to bond and learn things about your friends that you wouldn't find out otherwise, and the chance to trade new experiences for old clothes.
We've all been in that situation, sitting at a friend's house, doing nothing, asking, "What do you want to do?" Back and forth, over and over again, with the same response. "I don't know, whatever you want to do." Put an end to this madness. There is no longer a reason for you to succumb to the boredom that is an empty weekend. A secondhand store full of surprises is waiting for you.
In current society, following trends and purchasing trendy clothing limits our creativity, as everyone is guilty of purchasing what's in style, whatever everyone else is buying, or the look of your favorite celebrity. Although the basics are okay, when you allow yourself to look at a whole bunch of clothing that doesn't stem from these mainstream companies, you inevitably find out what you actually like without the masses controlling or influencing your decisions. Sounds horrible, right?
Society is limiting you to a fashion sense defined strictly by the choices of a few celebrities and influencers. Being part of the fashion cult that is pop culture is hard to shake off, but it's possible, and once you do, the opportunities are endless. The adventure of finding your perfect outfit in a sea of styles and sizes and colors and patterns is an added bonus. Searching through racks on racks of vintage high-waisted Levi jeans and band tees is your scavenger hunt. What can you find for the cheapest price that also fits your style best? Thrifting is a game with a prize of inexpensive, eco-friendly, and morally conscious outfits that leave your budget with room to spare.
Go back a couple of weeks and you would find us going neck and neck on the floor of Goodwill because she found a juicy tracksuit that I had to have. Sure, it put a halt to our friendship for a couple of days, but we recovered.
And for the record, I won the tracksuit. Goodwill, Salvation Army, and Out of the Closet. Chances are you recognize the names of these stores, but don't really know what their deal is. Is it because of the stereotypes that come along with the term secondhand? It might be time to reevaluate your opinions, because these stores are doing more for the community, environment, and your pocket than any big-name retailer. Goodwill boasts saving a whopping 72.9 million pounds of clothing and textiles from heading to landfills. The Salvation Army serves more than 58.4 million meals per year, 10.8 million nights of shelter per year, and has been doing so for a little over 150 years.
The Out of the Closet thrift store chain operated by the AIDS Healthcare Foundation even offers free HIV testing and counseling to customers. But what does this have to do with us and our exhausted budgets? Let us teach you the first fundamental lesson of economics, the chain of supply and demand.
Everything stems down from this basic principle. When there is a need for something, the market provides for that need. Without that need, the market will compensate for nothing. More people buying equates more production, less people buying equates less production. Consumer demand fuels every thread stitched and top folded, and Americans are now buying and discarding clothing at lightning rates. We're buying 5 times more clothing than in 1980 and throwing away 40% more. These aren't just statistics, they're wreaking havoc on the environment as this chain of supply and demand gets faster and faster with no sign of slowing.
For example, cotton is the most common used fiber to make clothing. To make one cotton shirt, it takes 2,700 liters of water, which is what the average person drinks in 2.5 years. This statistic is staggering when we consider the drought and water poverty from California to Central Asia. In addition to starving us for water, cotton production is responsible for 24% of insecticides and 11% of pesticides globally. But this problem isn't just up to the adults.
Even as a teenager, your money wields power. Strange concept, huh? A teenager actually being able to make a difference. Not only does every piece of clothing bought at a secondhand store equate to one less product being produced, but it directly influences the supply and demand chain. It's basic economics. When the demand for clothing decreases, production decreases. By choosing to shop secondhand, you can decrease the demand side of the equation ever so slightly, changing the chain one pair of jeans at a time. You've probably heard the popular saying, it takes a village. In this case, that isn't true. You, yes you, can have a direct influence on our environment. The smallest purchase can make a big difference.
In addition to everything we've covered, self-discovery and saving the environment, you can also find a way to turn the lifeless clothing at the bottom of your closet into coin. You now can join the thrifting movement without even leaving your house. All you need is a phone or computer. For example, a new up-and-coming company by the name of thredUP boasts a whopping number of 14 million thrifted items as of 2016. We ourselves, however, are avid enthusiasts of Depop, an online store where people buy and sell clothing through an app. Depop allows people to buy and sell secondhand items at a cheap price.
If you have a sweatshirt that you wore a grand total of 2 times before it fell off a hanger into the back of your closet, list it on Depop, which works kind of like eBay. If you don't want it, someone else will. One man's trash is another man's thrift. The app's formatting allows you to swipe left and right like Tinder, but for clothes instead of people. All of these online thrifting apps and websites offer homebodies like me an opportunity to sit back, relax, and thrift when the idea of actually visiting a store can be a little overwhelming. This way, you are recycling your older clothing items you never use, earning money, and using that money to purchase more thrifted items, completing the circle.
Most of you are on board with the idea of cheap clothing that's good for the environment, but you still may have some reservations. Let's talk about the yuck factor.
We understand you may be asking, where have these clothes been? Or do I really feel comfortable buying clothes when I don't know where they came from?
The answer to your question is a good dry cleaning service, a couple of deep plunges in the washing machine, and hope that drowning your thrifting finds in hot water and laundry detergent will erase any traces of its past lives.
I'm sure all of you have borrowed clothing from your friends. Think of it like you're borrowing clothing from a distant, slightly dirtier friend.
However, we do draw the line when it comes to headwear because lice is not the move unless you're into an itchy head. The point is, the likelihood of anything gross happening from wearing your thrift finds, besides hats or hair items, is very low. Really, we mean it. We aren't being dramatic.
If you can buy clothes from the Panther Closet, the place where you thrift old uniforms from our school, you can buy clothes from Goodwill. End of story.
At the end of it all, we can't tell you that if you make the shift to thrift, that all the economic, environmental, and social problems that the world faces will disappear. However, we can tell you that joining the movement will create your actions and make them inspire others to do the same.
In high school, it's easy to follow what everyone else is doing or wearing. All anyone wants is to fit in and blend in with the crowd, but we urge you to break free of the mainstream by thrifting. We offer a way to learn who you really are in a sea of old clothing and accessories.